Just to get this started, can I get everyone to just say, happy birthday, DeKalb County, Georgia.
Happy birthday, DeKalb County, Georgia.
Yay! I am so thrilled and excited, really, to be with you all this evening. And thank you all for braving the inclement weather to come out and celebrate a milestone moment in the history of our great county, our bicentennial. And I can't tell you how excited I've been and how much we've looked forward to this as we plan for the last 18 months. But first and foremost, we're just so pleased to be in DeKalb, among our public structures, the most historic public-owned building in DeKalb County, Georgia, which is the DeKalb Historic Courthouse. Isn't it lovely? And to welcome us to this historic building is the executive director of the DeKalb History Center, a young lady that I've had an opportunity to work with and that I'm just so excited about the future opportunities that we're going to engage together. Give a round of applause for Ms. Melissa Carson.
Thank you, CEO Thurmond. We're delighted to have you here tonight. We're delighted to celebrate DeKalb's bicentennial with you. We've got a lot of nice round numbers right now. It's also the 75th anniversary of the DeKalb History Center, and I've been here for 15 years, so that's another great round number. But we are delighted to have you in the building, this historic courthouse. The DeKalb History Center has been here since 1968. We haven't been a full tenant that time. We shared the building with some other facilities and offices, but just in the last short time period, we've gotten such great help from the county and the CEO. We're grateful. I know you guys love the gleaming floors and the beautiful marble. Yes. So thank you. We're looking forward to this whole event, and I really appreciate you all coming and the CEO inviting me to welcome you. Good night.
Next, we will have opening remarks. I often I've said on the stump all the time, being CEO is the okay kind of job, but it really sucks unless you can get at least 4 votes on the Board of Commissioners, right? And we have, I think, a wonderful Board of Commissioners. We don't always agree, but we never lose sight of the fact that we all love DeKalb County, Georgia, and we're always working for our best interests on behalf of the citizens we represent. I would like to ask our presiding officer, Mr. Robert Patrick, to come forward to give remarks and to introduce the commissioners who are present. Presiding Officer Robert Patrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. The trick and challenge of always speaking after you is you are a tough act to follow. Even if it's just a quick introduction, the pressure is on. So it's great to be here this evening. I have seen some of my fellow commissioners. I believe I saw Commissioner Jeff Rader right there in the back, and I believe I saw Commissioner Steve Bradshaw right over there in the back corner as well. Are there any other commissioners here this evening? If not, okay. Well, I do want to acknowledge our commissioners. Again, thank you, Mr. CEO, for inviting me to speak today. I'm here on behalf of my colleagues on the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners, our dedicated, hardworking staff, and the for DeKalb County, and the residents, of course, are reflected for tonight. What an honor it is to be here to recognize how far we've come in 200 years. As some of you know, I am not a minister. That means I'm going to give my word that we're not going to have a long speech on my part, and you can keep a clock on me for that one. While DeKalb has had a long, full history, I'll mention a few notable details and events, starting with our name. Our county's namesake is from a warrior by the name of Baron Johann de Kalb, who lived from 1721 to 1780 and died fighting for the American Revolution on our side, thank goodness. He was born in Germany and became an officer with the French Army, was sent to the colonies on a covert mission. He was tasked with determining how dissatisfied the Americans were with British rule. And as we can all imagine, we were pretty dissatisfied at that time. He respected the American settlers for their spirit of independence, something that we still share today, that innovation, that drive that keeps us going and growing. DeKalb was greatly revered by his contemporaries as an American hero from the Revolution. Towns and counties, much like ours, across the country bear his name. Next thing I want to mention is the land itself. This land was once held by Native Americans. It was the 1821 Treaty of Indian Springs, where the state of Georgia acquired the land, which would eventually become DeKalb County, Georgia. Another major event, of course, that we're all familiar with is the Civil War. The Civil War and the Battle of Atlanta happened here to a great extent within DeKalb County. Many lives were lost between the states that were fighting. This war brought the end to slavery and established the right of a whole people to become citizens of the United States. This painful chapter did spark critical amendments to the Constitution, the abolition of slavery, the granting of citizenship to all persons born or naturalized within the United States, the granting of equal protection under the law, ensuring a citizen's right to vote regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This war and these changes are parts of DeKalb County's history, and we're grateful for that. For this part of our history, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize the difficulties and the events that happened due to slavery that we've had. Within the mid-20th century, the struggle for civil rights began. DeKalb County became the center of the movement that reached across America and the world to become the basis of what we think of today when we think of human rights and civil rights. Thanks to leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, Hosea Williams, and many others, we live in their righteous vision. For this part of our history, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize those who risked their own lives and safety for America to be what we have today. Again, this is all part of DeKalb County's history. In the business realm, DeKalb County has been forward-looking since at least 1942 with the construction of the Scott Candler water plant. This $4 million investment of public funds sparked modern-day DeKalb County. That investment brought General Motors to DeKalb County and provided jobs and economic stability for decades. Now that our economy is moving from manufacturing to digital, DeKalb again is focused in on the future. We are a TV and film production hub within the Southeast. We have developments such as Assembly in Doraville, Electric Owl Studios in Indian Creek, and Shadowbox Studios in Constitution. I'd like to thank Hilton, Dan, and Ryan for choosing DeKalb County to be the place to establish your businesses, and we're grateful for that. Thank you. Once again, for this part of our history, I'd like to acknowledge those and recognize those who invested their time and money in DeKalb County. Their success will ensure that current and future generations of DeKalb County residents will enjoy an enviable quality of life throughout the region. And speaking of quality life, I want to acknowledge one person in particular, our Chief Executive Officer, Michael Thurmond, for his efforts and attention to the Water and Sewer Department. Not much can happen without this critical infrastructure. I can go into jokes and details, but I think we get it. Without the sewer, nothing happens. CEO, I'd also like to acknowledge you for your leadership on our first SPLOST. Many improvements that have happened in DeKalb County and her municipalities are the result of your actions and your leadership through the legislature and with our residents, so thank you very much. I, along with the Board of Commissioners, look forward to working with you as we begin discussions for the 2023 SPLOST 2 and your support and leadership through the legislature. Finally, I thought it'd be fun to compare DeKalb from back in the day with a few benchmarks from today. In the 1830s, Atlanta was growing fast because the city of Decatur didn't want to become a railroad terminus, if you can imagine that. The oldest existing house in the county is the 1831 Goodwin House along Peachtree Road in Brookhaven. Until about the 1960s, DeKalb was largely agricultural. Much of the county was forested, and a section of old-growth forest is preserved in Fernbank. The construction of major freeways like I-285, I-20, I-85, and Georgia 400 sparked the urbanization, and also part of the reason why I was late tonight getting here. And I also note, 200 years ago, we didn't have traffic like we've got today. So, approximately 200 years ago, DeKalb's population was just over 10,000. Today, we're at about 750,000 people. And we have grown and changed in those times. We share tables and we break bread with people that we never would have in the past. And I think that we are better off for that. So with those comments, I just want to say thank you very much. Again, CEO, thank you for your leadership. And I hope everyone enjoys tonight. Thank you.
Robert mentioned our municipal leadership. So our elected officials from our cities, mayors and city council persons, either raise your hand or stand. Let's give our local leaders a round of applause. I know they are here. We have Mayor Garrett, we got Tucker, Stonecrest, Mayor Hammock is here from Pine Lake, and thank you all so much for your partnership and your friendship. We have constitutional officers present here today. The most popular tax commissioner in America is here. And I always wonder how he pulled this off. So Commissioner Irvin Johnson, you collect taxes, give him a hand. The commissioner is here. Thank you so much. I know we have members of the school board here. Our school board chair is here. Ms. Vicki Turner, are there other school board members here? We got a room full of important people, so if you think you're important and I didn't call your name, just stand up and make a speech. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. We also have the grand lady of DeKalb County. I call her Madam CEO to this day, Miss Leanna Levitan. Just stand up, give her a hand. We love you, Madam CEO, and she doesn't have any problems calling me up and telling me what I need to do on any day. So, and I really do appreciate that. So any other former DeKalb elected officials here? All right, good. So now we're going to Judge Asha Jackson is traveling, so she's the chief judge of Superior Courts, but we have with us today the chief judge designate, who will take office on January 1st, and we're going to ask Chief Judge, soon to be, Latia Jackson, to please come and provide us with some remarks. Judge Chief to be Jackson.
Good evening. Good evening. One more time. Good evening. Good evening. This is a wonderful day. It's 200 years of DeKalb. What I will tell you before I give some remarks is when I was dating my husband, he lived in a different county when we were just dating. And I gained the nickname DeKalb. And it was because everything that I did and everything that we did when we dated had to be in DeKalb because I knew that this was the best county in the state of Georgia. If you agree with me, just go ahead and clap it up. As our CEO said, our Chief Judge, Asha F. Jackson, is traveling and she's not able to be here, so I'm humbled to stand in her place. But what I will tell you is I represent the judiciary and we have some of our judges that are here. If you are here, if you'll just stand, we have Judge Morris, Judge Shandina Morris, and Judge Yolanda Parker Smith from Superior Court, our Chief Judge Beryl Anderson from Magistrate Court. And what I will tell you is I like commercials. And so what I will tell you is DeKalb Judiciary is like a commercial. We have 10 elected Superior Court judges, 11 state court, 1 magistrate, 1 probate, and 5 juvenile court judges. And so if I had to tell you some commercials, I would tell you we're like Apple. We think different. We're like Campbell's soup. We're good. We're like Coca-Cola, we open happiness. We're like Frosted Flakes, we're great. What I will tell you is that we're like General Electric. We bring good things to life. We're like Hoffer's, we will go the extra mile. We're like Land Rover, we go beyond. We're like Lexus, we're the relentless pursuit of perfection. We're like Nationwide, we'll be on your side. We're like Sky Q, we believe in better. We're like State Farm, we're a good neighbor and we're always there. Like Adidas, nothing is impossible. Like Steel, we're a cut above rest. And finally, like Allstate, when you come to the DeKalb County Courthouse, we're in one of the historic courthouses, and you'll see in your brochure and your program the history of it. But if you just walk a couple of steps to my right, your left, you will be in one of the best courthouses that are here in the state of Georgia. And what you will know is that you will always be in good hands. It is an honor to work as a third branch of government with our executive branch and our legislative branch to make sure that DeKalb County is always a cut above rest. Thank you for coming tonight.
Do we have members of the DeKalb legislative delegation present? We have a great delegation. Let's give our legislators a round of applause. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much, Matt. And we wish you all the best. Now we will ask, well, first I'll make an announcement. One of the things I was charged with doing today was to announce the co-chairs who will lead the DeKalb Bicentennial Commission. And Ms. Beatrice Williams is not here. Unfortunately, her brother passed, and she's in Michigan attending to his final arrangements. So let's keep Ms. Williams in our prayer. But we do have with us a friend of long standing who's going to co-chair our Bicentennial Commission, someone we all know, Mr. Bill Crane. So Bill, would you come and give us some remarks? Thank you.
And Mr. Patrick's already talked about some of the history of Baron Johann de Kalb. By the way, I always capitalize the K, and the "da" is just a modifier. His actually last name was Kalb. But I want to point out that that German immigrant born in Bavaria, who chose to come to the United States while already a war hero in France, who married well and was living in a chalet near the palace at Versailles, came to the United States the first time, was so impressed with the American pluck and their desire to break away from Britain, he brought this little fellow who was a protege of his named Lafayette, and he came to the United States. He fought at Fort Valley Forge. He was engaged in leading troops out of Maryland and Delaware in South Carolina, and he was killed on the battlefield in Camden, South Carolina, where he is buried even today. But I think it's particularly fitting, given where DeKalb County is in 2022, that we are one of 9 communities in the United States named for Baron Johann de Kalb, but that an immigrant who had no standing in the United States, great wealth and power in Europe, came here and put his life on the line, lost it, and is not as well known perhaps as General Lafayette, but it shows again what one individual can do when they are willing to put it on the line for their community, their country, and our country. So one more time, give it up for Baron de Kalb. Like our CEO, I'm a student of history, and one of the many reasons I've been impressed with Mr. Thurmond since I met him as a young legislator in Clark County, I understood this story, and correct me if I tell it incorrectly, as a high school student in Cedar Shoals High School in Athens, Georgia. He was being taught Georgia and local history, and he and other students were somewhat perplexed that none of the textbooks had any history at the time about African Americans and their community or much in the state. To the extent he asked his teacher, who was a black woman, about this, because she would teach these parts of history with old newspaper clippings and mimeographed copies in the day, and he wanted a book written that talked about his family and the community and history. He convinced, as a high school senior, the superintendent of a Clark County school system to pay him $400, and this was some pretty good money in those days, to write a pamphlet about that history, which later became a book, The Untold Stories, that is on a list of the 100 books that every Georgian should read. And I'm going to get his autograph in it before I leave here tonight. And a second book, Freedom, about slavery and the abolition of slavery in Georgia and other southern states. I got a phone call from him recently, and he said, I have a favor to ask you. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you tonight. We're going to celebrate in a big way for a year. We're going to do a lot of things this community has needed to do for some time. For those of you who've seen Back to the Future and you remember the non-working clock in the tower, That's what always reminded me of this building, but as I understand it, we're going to get a working clock again, among other things. Our family was in the newspaper business in this county for about 50 years, and Vivian Price, who worked for us for a lot of those years, wrote a history of DeKalb County, which you can get in the DeKalb History Center downstairs. We might get that updated and add a few things that have happened in more recent years. And in addition to designation of historical figures and personages, back to our CEO in his book, one of the families that he called out and gave deserved recognition to was the King Bridge Building family, specifically Horace King and his children, W.W. King, living in Athens and later for a time in DeKalb County. W.W. King, if you're not familiar, designed and constructed the bridge that was the College Street Bridge, but has now been transferred or moved in 1965 to DeKalb County. And the Stone Mountain Memorial Association earlier this year rededicated the W.W. King Bridge and had it placed on the National Register of Historic Places. I'd like to ask Bill Stevens, the CEO of the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, to join me for a brief presentation to the CEO.
Mr. CEO, good to see you, sir. We had the occasion to dedicate the bridge, and the CEO was gracious enough to come and help make a special presentation at that dedication. There was a lot of good publicity from that. We know the CEO likes good publicity. So we'd like to present him with this framed news article of that dedication. And we also have a thumb drive with your presentation on it that we'll give to you later. But we just wanted to present that to you. Tell you thank you for being such a good friend.
First of all, Bill, thank you so much for your leadership. Bill Stevens, if you don't know this, man, we've been friends for 30 years when he was a young senator and I was a young legislator. I served on the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, and we began the effort to have a more inclusive and expansive history. If you really think about it, the most prominent, well-known landmark in DeKalb is Stone Mountain. Part of what we're going to do is tell a more complete history of that mountain. And in that telling, Bill Stevens has led the way on the association. There will be a $2 million investment to create a truth-telling museum at Stone Mountain, already approved and adopted by the Stone Mountain Memorial Association. So give Bill a round of applause. He got that done. Thank you, Bill.
If you haven't been to the park recently, you need to get out there and check out the Christmas show with not only the largest display of lights in the state, bigger than down in Callaway Gardens. They have drones and other things that are coming at you from the mountain. It's rather spectacular. Olivia and I have been both for the Christmas and the Halloween celebration. And again, these books are still on sale on Amazon and eBay. You can't know where you're going as a community without understanding where you've been. You can't fully appreciate the accomplishments of the community without looking back and celebrating people like Leon Leviton, the other elected officials in the room tonight, and so many of you that we can't recognize everyone individually who have given for DeKalb County. I'm proud to be born, bred, educated, and at some point in the not too terribly distant future, DeKalb dead. I ain't going anywhere. But thank you, Mr. CEO and Zola, for the wonderful honor. Look forward to working with all of you to celebrate the 200th anniversary and today's 200th birthday of DeKalb County. Thank you.
You know, I love this county, and I love the people. I love the diversity. I love the energy. I love who we are. I'm just thrilled every day about how we came to be. But more importantly, I'm convinced that our best days are yet to come. So many great things are happening in our county from an economic development perspective. We've approved over 300 new projects just in the last 60 days because, as was stated, we've gotten our act together. We have the best technical college anywhere in the state of Georgia, and we got the president here. President Holden, stand up. Give him a round of applause. We got the president here. And thank you so much. And of course, we have Emory and Agnes Scott, and I know we may have representatives from those institutions, Georgia State. We are poised for greatness. And I just want to give you a glimpse at a project that's actually taking place. It's off the drawing board into reality. That's literally unfolding at the old General Motors site in Doraville. The visionary behind this is someone who was my boss. When I was D-Factory, I had a lot of jobs happening, you know. So, anyway, some people just can't keep a good job. But But we worked together over 30 years ago, and let me just tell you, you go to the assembly, and the only thing I can liken it to is walking around Disney World with Walt Disney when the bulldozers first showed up. That's what this is. The partnership between Doraville and DeKalb County made it possible. It is going to transform Doraville, transform DeKalb, transform Metro Atlanta. Millions of people will fly into Hartsfield or PDK. Those who come to Hartsfield will get on MARTAs, drive right past Atlanta, and come to Assembly in Doraville. And the gentleman behind that is a brilliant man, a friend, and someone who loves this county. Owns the second largest number of TV stations in America. Maybe the largest now, because that was last week, and he's always buying new stuff. So welcome officially to DeKalb County, the visionary behind Assembly, Mr. Hilton Howell.
You know, I don't consider myself a visionary. I just consider myself really lucky. And I will tell you, one of the luckiest things in my life is getting to know you. 30-plus years ago at the Division of Family and Children's Services. And it's led to a lot of great things. I'm the CEO and the chairman and the largest shareholder of Gray Television. Gray Television is in 113 television stations across this country. And most importantly, we're now the steward of WANF, Atlanta News First, the old CBS 49, Peachtree TV, Telemundo Atlanta, and The Circle. If you're a country western fan, go hit your Xfinity box and say The Circle. It'll take you right there, and you can watch the Grand Ole Opry Saturday Night Live. All right? Well, those TV stations, as we started the process of acquiring them, led us to realize that we needed to have the ability to create content, but we had a hard time finding a place to do it. And literally, I came home one night during COVID, wearing masks, doing all this stuff, sitting at home, going, geez, I just need 20 acres and a mule, really, just somewhere. And lo and behold, I had lucky people around the table, and they called with my partner here that I'm going to ask to step up in a few minutes and talk about it. And we got the opportunity to buy the General Motors plant here in DeKalb County. I had to haul my board of directors up here on a Sunday afternoon with a freaking mask on. Fortunately, it wasn't raining like today was. But I said, how do you go wrong with 135 acres in DeKalb County in Atlanta within the, the whole highway? I mean, how do you go wrong? Like, God doesn't make any more of these things, right? Let's do this. And they agreed, and we did it, and we bought it. We bought the note, and we stepped forward, and now we're building something that is truly, truly extraordinary, even if I say so myself. I will tell you, I've got a video with the heroine of all of this area, Monica Pearson, that we're going to play. So I'm giving you a hint to cue it up, right? In a few minutes, to let you know the history of what the assembly was, is, but most importantly, because you're recognizing your history, I'm here to tell you what we're going to try to make our future together. And if it wasn't with the DeKalb County entire Chamber of Commerce, the whole bit, and Doraville, the city of Doraville, they've made this so easy. I'm so proud of you. As a citizen of your community, I'm so proud of the way that you have handled this. Because, and I'm going to leave this knock out of the park sort of statement to my partner, Jay Gibson, with the Gibson Companies, because you know who we're competing with? We're competing with London, England, and Los Angeles, California, and we're cleaning their clock. And you know who stood in the way in those areas? The governments. Here, we're received well, we're treated well, and they see the vision. Never underestimate the power of television, the power of film, the power of telling stories and inspiring visions. That's one of the things this county has in its leadership here, a human being who can inspire leadership and take things to the next level. And I will tell you, this morning, we were out with our underwriters, and because of the support of the county, because of the support of the city, I think we've placed, and we will close on December 28th, a new series of bonds that will allow for the public infrastructure and the public construction of all that is part of this. And it's been a long day, but it's been a productive day. And so the way I'm going to leave this moment before I turn it over to Jake Gibson, my partner in this, is that the story of the next 200 years of DeKalb County is that of winners. We set the story, we set the stage, we tell it, and we brag on ourselves. You know why? Because we're gonna earn it, and we're gonna prove it to the rest of the country, all right? You with us? Jay, coming up.
I just
Long
want
set of glasses.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm a DeKalb County baby. I was born and raised here 57 years ago. And our family's company's based here. And what Hilton didn't mention is Gray TV is based here. They're based right in Brookhaven. And so one of the things when we started this project was he said, Jay, we're going to send a message to the world. We're going to make this about Dorville, about DeKalb County, about Georgia. We're going to show them how we do it. And so what I want to talk to you about just briefly is this project. This project is built by Georgia builders. The steel, Scottdale, Georgia. It's all coming from Steel LLC. This is a DeKalb County and a Georgia project. The architects, the engineers, everything about it. And so there's a great deal of pride in this. It was interesting when the crowd from LA came in. They have basically, as most of you know, it's NBC Universal is the biggest partner of ours. They made a statement to us that they were looking all over the world and all over the United States, and they picked our site here in DeKalb County. They picked it for the quality of life. They picked it for the creativity. They picked it for the energy that was already here. And we're going to transform this into not only a digital media, a film media, but an arts. And so this is what this is all about. And it's going to be a live, work, play community. And it is being done by Georgia for the world. And so that's our vision. That was the vision that Mr. Howell gave us. And that's been our goal from day one. And so one of the other things that I wanted to mention to you, when this project opens, day one in June, 4,100 employees. So that's just in the first part of the studio. And so this is a tremendous economic engine. It's a great source of pride. More than anything, it's pride that we have in this development. And if you get out on the site and you see it and you visit it and you talk to the 1,100 construction workers that are out there, you can feel the energy, you can feel the pride, you can feel the sense of place. And so that's what we're creating. We're creating a gift for the world right here in DeKalb County. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the commissioners. Thank you to the city of Dorville. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Our family's been doing this in Georgia for 50 years, and I've never seen a more cooperative and interactive relationship with the counties, the cities. And your vision as a CEO, your vision as a commission, and the citizens have just embraced what our vision was. And, you know, I've always said you get a bunch of really smart people in a room and really creative people and really motivated people, and you get the best of all that we have to offer. And you have done that as a community, and we owe it to you. And thank you to Gray, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to show out Georgia, DeKalb, and Dorville to the world. Thank you.
Now, we have several students from the DeKalb School of the Arts, which is one of the most highest performing high schools in America. Let's give them a round of applause. They are here. Not yet, not yet, but not yet. But they have talents and skill sets, and I fully expect all of them to be employed either in front of or behind the camera at the assembly in the not too distant future. Now, amen. Get his card, young people. But one of the initiatives that is taking place right now began, I guess, several years ago. And that was a movement to remove a Confederate obelisk from this site. Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson is here. She was the chief advocate on the Board of Commissioners. There were other people in the community, high school students from Decatur High School. Judge Seeliger ultimately issued an order, and I was so proud that just so happened on Juneteenth. Wasn't that kind of cool? Don't elect a historian CEO, because anyway, so we were able to remove it, but that was not the end of the story. It's not just removing statues and monuments. We have to create a new history, a more inclusive history. So Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson set out to raise money to erect, to have design, and ultimately erect a statue to honor the living legend, Congressman John Lewis. That's what she's done. So come up, Commissioner Johnson. Come up here with me. 2 weeks ago, she called me like she always does. She said, Mike, I need you to go do something for me. I need another $100,000. And I need it in the next 10 days. So I got on my phone, do what politicians do. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hilton Howard to come up and make an announcement.
It is with a great deal of pleasure and honor that I get to announce this, and I hope this gets you over your goal, because John Lewis was a unique human being in life. He's a unique treasure for the state of Georgia. He's someone that we can all honor, that brings us all together, that makes us proud. Candidly, I knew him. I'm not just saying this. I was a young man. I was 29 years old when I met John Lewis. And he was as nice to me as you could have imagined. And I was just some putz, all right? And that man was a living legend standing there. And so I could not think of a more noble statue to arise in the courtyard of this county's courthouse than one dedicated to the living memory of John Lewis. And so on behalf of the board and the shareholders of Gray Television, we are happy to pledge $50,000 towards the casting of an extraordinary statue to an extraordinary man. And I hope, I'm not going to hold you to this, all right? But I hope that that statue can be erected during the sesquicentennial year of 2023. Takes a long time. They're artists now. They don't do things overnight. But do it right. Congratulations. Thank you.
So much.
Good evening, everyone. And I tell you that this is a very, very special occasion. For me to drive at night, I had to be here to celebrate. Of course, I love DeKalb. I love the staff. I love my CEO. And I'll tell you, Patty, is Patty here? Patty, come up and stand with me.
Co-chair, get a mail around.
She is the co-chair. Patty is my road dog, my partner, you know, and we co-chair the John Lewis Commemorative Task Force. And it was great pleasure for me. I was blessed to be married. Well, I won't say I was blessed to be married to Hank, because I think he was blessed to be married to me. But I was blessed for him to be in Congress, for me to get to personally meet and spend a lot of time with John Lewis. And John was a great man. He did not meet strangers. And a lot of time we would have to pull him away from conversations with just your average person on the street. That's the person that John was. So I'm proud to announce, and we will be announcing on the 29th, our artists. And I am so glad that DeKalb have stepped forward, and we have raised, with the $50,000 contribution tonight, over $550,000 for this statue. So, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Patty, and I would like you to say just a few words for the task force.
The Mayor of Decatur, give her a round of applause. Come on, the Mayor of Decatur.
First, I want to know if I could call the CEO and just ask for some money, but no. It has really been a delight to chair this task force to honor the late Congressman Lewis and to get to know better Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson. We've had a great group working together. We've selected an amazing artist, and it makes me feel so, it really brings chills to me to think about not only the Confederate monument being moved and gone from in front of the historic courthouse that is really right in the center of our downtown in Decatur, but to think about what's going in its place is just the most wonderful outcome, I think, and it has been a delight to lead this task force, to help with fundraising and selection of the artist, and I think everyone will be touched when that piece of art goes in. So, and thanks, many of you here helped make that happen, and if you haven't yet, we'll still take a little extra money, so thank you. Thank you.
Good. Wow. Thank you so much. Let's give Gray $50,000. Let's give him another round of applause. Come on, that's real money. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, and now we have listen, back to being CEO. It was cool. The job I enjoyed the most was being superintendent of schools. I'll just be honest with you. And people say, why is that? Because I was surrounded by 100,000 of the brightest people you could ever imagine. It was just an amazing moment for me. Plus, I knew absolutely nothing about running a school district, so I didn't have to apologize or pretend. Folks said, well, how did you do that, Mike? If you never taught a day in school, how could you serve as superintendent? I realized that I was surrounded also by people who love to teach. We have the CEO of MARTA, Mr. Collie Greenwood. Let's give MARTA a round of applause. I saw Melissa is here, our former chair of the MARTA board. Come on, Ms. Rita Scott, stand up. Any other MARTA board members here? I can't see everyone. And Rod, our new treasurer for MARTA, just elected. Give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. I see the Chamber of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce is here. Frankie, good to see you. Now, let's bring these talented, these wonderfully skilled and blessed young people from the DeKalb School of Arts, You got a great principal who I knew and hopefully played a role in mentoring at another point in time. Stand up, Mr. Jones. Give the principal a round of applause. Thank you so much. So you want to come up and introduce the kids?
Good afternoon, everyone. CEO, thank you so much for inviting the DeKalb School of the Arts. I do believe board member Ms. Turner is in the building. Okay, well, on behalf of the DeKalb County School District, my name is Dr. Jones, and I am the proud principal of the DeKalb School of the Arts. At this time, I would like to bring up Mr. Duncan, who's the core director at the DeKalb School of the Arts, and the best students I've ever seen in my lifetime. Please come on up at this time.
I'm Jerry Duncan. I am the co-director of the DeKalb School of the Arts, and on behalf of Dr. Jones, thank you for guiding us. We will sing a preview. We got 2 holiday concerts. We want to sing a preview of 3 carols for you and 1 surprise at the end.
Join the triumph of the skies.
Baptist Church in Decatur. These kids will give a full concert at 7 o'clock. Suggested donation of $10. Please come out. Our last Christmas carol for our surprise, Deck the Halls.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Darn me now our gay apparel. La 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 la. Show the ancient Yuletide carol. La 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. La 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Follow me in merry measure. Follow, while I tell of Christmas treasure. That's the way the old year passes. Hail the new ye lads and lasses. Sing with joyous all together. Heedless of the wind or weather.
I want to introduce these extraordinary musicians that you see behind me. From left to right, our sopranos, senior Breon Boswell, senior Veronica Else, junior Anna Kirk, Jordan Joseph, Elliot Ross, Johnny Daniel, Nicholas Harris, Wiltshire, Stephanie Vaughn. Well, so very much this is our last retreat to all of you and to all of you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear County. Happy birthday to you.
There was actually one DeKalb County resident who was actually 9 years old when we celebrated the centennial of DeKalb County. And she is with us here tonight. The oldest living resident of DeKalb County, 109-year-old Miss Mackin is here. Let's give her a round of applause. We're going to present her with some flowers. She is right here. Isn't that a blessing to be able to say I celebrated the centennial and the bicentennial? Isn't that cool? Wow. And now, thank you all for being so patient. The primary reason we're here, and you're seeing it, is to present the mural that will celebrate 200 years of DeKalb County history. This mural will be installed and erected on the Maloof building in the spring in March and April of 2023. And I would like to ask the young lady who has been the curator and inspiration to come forward, Ms. Cynthia Jones, Cynthia Jones Parks, is a DeKalb County resident, was born and raised in Ellenwood, Cedar Grove High School, Come on, give it up, the Saints. Getting ready to win another state championship, right? Georgia State University, she has an amazing company that is known throughout America. She's done work for MARTA, for Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport and Delta, and for airports all over this nation. She's an amazing talent, a creative voice, and I come up with ideas and she turned my ideas into realities. So I want Cynthia to come and kind of give us an understanding of what we have here and maybe introduce other members of your staff.
Good evening. I am so honored to be here for this celebration. I'm really honored to have worked with CEO Thurmond for many years on other initiatives. He is a visionary. He makes things happen. It is easy to be great when you're working with someone who's also great. So I would like to just share with you that I do have other members of my team here. Molly and Vicki, would you stand, please? And I really have to give my staff credit. Molly has become our resident historian. She has read all of the books about DeKalb County. Both Molly and Vicki, they've worked on all of the research about the wall, and it's an extraordinary project. The research has just revealed to us just how rich DeKalb County is. And CEO Thurmond is absolutely correct. My family lives in DeKalb. I was raised in DeKalb. My ancestors were early settlers of DeKalb. And so all of the things that happen in DeKalb happens and support the family. I'm the next oldest grandchild of grandparents that have more than 120 grandchildren. So we are absolutely DeKalb County. So with the wall, we have done a segment of the wall so that we can begin the full exploration. We will also vet the history of DeKalb to make sure we have not missed anything, but we wanted to paint a more expansive and inclusive look at DeKalb's history. There are many books. We want to make sure that we can bring many of those ideas, concepts, and the facts of the history together so that it is a richer, more inclusive story. And so I cannot imagine a more important project in my life and in my career and for my business. And so I'd just like to thank the CEO once again for the opportunity to work on something as important as the History Wall, celebrating the Bicentennial of DeKalb. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to recognize all the DeKalb County employees. Look, the joy I have is that I had the opportunity to work with 6,000 men and women who love what we do, we love this county, and we show up every day to try to do the very best we can. So all of my DeKalb County fellow employees, raise your hands, stand up, and acknowledge yourself. I want to acknowledge Dolores Crowell. Dolores helped me put this together. And finally this, you all have been very patient, so we'll end with this. The charge is simply this. Let's never turn away from each other. Let's always turn to each other. Let's continue to work together, to play together, to pray together, to sing together, to laugh together. Let us continue to love this county and love one another. Because if we stay together, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. There is no limit to our greatness. So that's what this history will be about. I want every child, and I'm just waiting to look out my window in the not too distant future when yellow buses will pull up there on Commerce Drive and kids will get out, and this will be a must-see field trip for every student in the Decatur City Schools and the DeKalb County Public Schools for years to come. It will be interactive. We'll have a code so it will tell you stories about the people who are represented in the wall. So this is special for our county, it's special to me, And it's something that will, I think, continue to pay dividends for now and forever. Thank y'all so much for letting me do this. Thank you for electing me to be the CEO. Thank you for putting up with me, because I'm kind of a nerd about history. And I know when I told my staff about it, they were kind of rolling their eyes, but they put up with me. So thank y'all so much, and enjoy the rest of the evening. We got food, we have wine, we have beer, and we got Jay Fly's Trio. Come on, hit it, Jay.